Welcome back to Beards and Brews. This week's movie is going to be The Lobster, starring Colin Farrell and a little bit of John C. Reilly.
You can't leave out my girl Rachel Weisz. She's in there too.
Man, the whole time I was just like, you could have done that third Mummy, but you didn't.
But you decided to do this movie, which, let me tell you guys, this is the second time I've seen this movie. I still don't know how I feel about it. Is it a good movie? I don't know. Do I like it? I still don't know.
It's like watching Hunger Games, but with a bunch of homeschool kids that talk about anal.
No, it's like if Hunger Games... It's like if Hunger Games was directed by Wes Anderson.
That was going to be my opening line. This is possibly the worst Wes Anderson movie I've ever seen.
This was directed and written by a gentleman by the name of Yorgos Lanthimos. He's really well known. He's been nominated for several Academy Awards. He was the director and writer of Killing of a Sacred Deer, Dogtooth, The Favorite. Very highly renowned.
Well, I've seen maybe two of those, and I can definitely see like the pipeline of kind of like his thought tree, because this movie comes off extremely arrogant in the filmmaking perspective.
Okay.
This is one of the most, I guess the word is tonal movies I've ever seen. Like, everything seems to be in the background the entire time, always present, but so pretentiously delivered that 10 minutes in, I was like, I don't fucking like anyone. I don't like anyone, not even Dead Wad Colin.
It's certainly like an artistic, I'm doing the air quotes, decision to like just have everything just flat. Like, through this entire time, I'm just thinking, like, you know, what would I say about this movie if I had a chance to put like a one sentence review on the front or back of a Blu-ray? What would it say? I guess the only thing that I could rattle off is like, it's hilarious, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
No, this is, I mean, you're exactly right about it being tonal. This is more tonal than it is anything. So much more than, you know, the script or the plot. This movie is defined by its tone, and its tone is just this absolute deadpan, dry, maybe humor. Is this funny? I'm not really sure.
When I pulled it up, it's, you know, marketed as an extremely dark comedy. And that's what I was kind of like, I don't know, I was kind of in the mood for, I guess. I like dry comedies where, you know, the scene is so awkward it almost comes off sarcastic.
Right. And this is kind of like, okay, I love dark comedies, love dry comedies. Wes Anderson is one of my favorite filmmakers. This makes Wes Anderson's catalog look like Dumb and Dumber.
But Dumb and Dumber is really good.
I just mean that if you like that dry comedy of Wes Anderson, this is like a whole step and a half above that as far as dryness and just deadpan delivery.
So, can we talk about how this movie fucking opens? Like,
yeah.
What the fuck?
If you're just walking into this and you see the very first scene, you see a woman driving. It's a rainy day. She stops, gets out of the car. I think this is supposed to take place in Ireland from what I read, but it doesn't really matter. She jumps out into like a pasture. There's a field here with a couple of donkeys. And she gets out into this pasture, cap, shoots one in the head 3 times, and then just walks away.
And
no context.
Yeah. I just want to say, whenever she shoots that donkey, I was a little curious if they really shot a donkey, because that thing's twitching, like nervous reaction twitching. And that was way too accurate for the way this movie is portrayed. You know what I mean?
Either they shot a donkey or that donkey deserves an Academy Award.
Yeah, best actor in the movie, that donkey.
Best jackass goes to Donkey.
Johnny Knoxville was robbed.
And like you said, like, that kind of never amounts to anything. You know, picture in the back of your head, like, why did this movie show me 10 minutes of this woman driving out into the middle of nowhere and murdering this donkey? Well, it turns out it's a little bit of revenge. We don't know why, it's never explained, and it's never shown again. In the storybook world, if you're not copulating, if you're not in some kind of relationship, you have like 40 days to get your shit together, or you're turned into an animal.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that donkey was just like an ex-husband.
Yes, exactly. See,
Yeah.
like the movie gives you just a little bit, and like 10 minutes later, you're like, oh, okay, that guy was an ass.
But I think one thing that this movie does poorly is it doesn't really explain exactly what the world is about. It just makes you have to fill in your own blanks. Like,
Yeah.
I guess this is what's going on.
That's very true, because most of this movie is, I hate to say it about a movie that's this caliber of filmmaking, but there is just like 90% chewing of the scenery. That's all it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just like back and forth. You're like, yes, you're right. Next scene.
I kind of think there's a lot to that because you have a whole lot of these indications of how the world is just from that. Like when Colin Farrell first checks into... Let's back up a little bit. The first time we meet Colin Farrell is his, we're assuming, wife is saying, I'm sorry, basically kicking him out of the house. You've got to hurry up. The bus will be here soon.
It's like, sorry, you gotta go. You're too much Flanders for me.
Yeah, this mustache that he's wearing through the whole movie is... I kind of get it. I kind of like it, but it also kind of looks like Ned Flanders.
I mean, it's not particularly fancy or anything. It's just like the perfect dad stash. Just like, pop, there it is.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with my life. I have gained a gut and grew a stash.
He has gained a good, for sure.
This is also the point that drove me nuts the most. This movie has an over-fucking-dubbed narrator.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I had issues with that, too. Like, it's not as bad as, like, the early cuts of Blade Runner, where you had Harrison Ford just like, and then I just went into this place and I shot a guy, yeah. It's just, the audio quality isn't as up to snuff, because, like, the movie will be trying to set up a scene, and you're like, man, there should be, like, some faint, just, like, classical music here, you know, like, there should be something here, maybe some piano tinkling away, and then, like, Rachel Weisz would just be like, and today was the day he thought about fucking her in the ass. And I'm just like, there's no smooth transition from A to B. It's just like, all right, let's spiel this movie along.
And I think that's part of the filmmaker's point. Like, that's what he especially wants. He wants that absurdity.
I guess. Like, I'm going to have to agree with you. Like, that's the point of the movie. Because in my mind, the point of this movie is basically just like the social construct of just like being in a relationship. And when you get older and you're single, you're that weird dude that just lives down the street. I think that's what this movie I think this is what this movie's about. Like, you know, when you get older and you're single, you're just kind of like that weird fella, you know, and there's all these like these weird, I don't know, pretentious or whatever norms where you just think you have to have somebody or something like that. And I think that's what this movie's trying to portray. And it disguises itself under this fucking thick layer of just like, I don't even want to say absurdity, just flatness, you know? So you think this movie's just like, oh man, it's almost like a really off-kilter, dark Wes Anderson movie, but really it's just like a strange idea, but a good one. But I think this movie almost is just way too fucking pretentious for its own good.
You held off on saying absurdity. I would say absurdity.
I was married, got divorced, was ostracized, felt bad about it, wrote a script, made a movie.
Yeah, and by the end of it, it's like, oh, love is blind. Wink.
Ah!
Yeah, that's the whole movie. But like,
yeah,
but
I should have said from ending. Is love blind? Because he's still like, we gotta have one thing in common. Gotta have one thing.
Well, I think that's just how the world has become. This movie takes place in what we assume is the not too distant future, in like this sort of semi-dystopian. I don't know. Is it dystopian?
I'm just gonna call it England.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Basically, everyone has to be paired up. If you somehow encounter a situation in your life, like your partner dies or leaves you for someone else, you have to go to one of these, they call it a hotel. It's like a resort. And you have 45 days to meet someone there at the resort, given their high number of rules involved. You've got 45 days. If you don't find someone within those 45 days that you can be companions with, you will be turned into an animal of your choosing.
Yeah. And the fact that nobody chose an elephant's kind of stupid. Just fucking stamp the shit out of these people.
I did enjoy that they were like setting down the rules. They were like, you have 45 days to make it. And they say make it a lot.
They do.
And if you don't make it, you get to be an animal. But she goes, but you don't want to be like a pig and an elephant because, a pig and an elephant's DNA just won't splice.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Like, why they even... You can be anything that you want. Why even have, like, the little provision? Just like, oh, you want to be a dog? I don't know. Dogs are kind of real dumb. Like, pick something else.
Well, like, dogs are super common, but my favorite line from this part of the film is, like, the woman, the hotel manager says, if you fail to find a companion, you can be any animal, but, you can still find a companion as an animal, but, you wouldn't want to be a camel and a hippopotamus. They could never be companions. That would be absurd.
I guess.
As
I
if
guess.
everything that we have learned to this point is not absurd.
Like, I understand it, but, like, the movie lays the monotone on so thick. It's just like the parts where it wants to be like that black comedy funny aren't funny, but then like by the time it shows John C. Reilly and you just realize he's in the movie, you're just like, oh, monkey.
Look, all I'm saying is I was like, whatever, until John C. Reilly arrived. There are only two things that break the tone of this movie, and that is John C. Reilly, and he is fucking beautiful when he breaks the tone. It's amazing. I actually really enjoyed him in this. And the scene when Colin Farrell is getting cock teased. He sits up and come on, it's fucking wrong. It's fucking wrong. And she just walks out of the room. You're like, this is not his character. That is Colin Farrell wanting more laughs.
Exactly. Just the whole bit is just ridiculous. Because like I don't know if they ADR'd it or just had the microphone too close. It's just like you just hear the skin rubbing. Just oh goodness. But of course, as we mentioned, Colin Farrell goes to this couple camp. The movie tries its best to kind of like wiggle its rules into the audience's ears, but it's just kind of like, I don't know. Sure, it's absurd, but like you find out later on that like some of the stuff is contradictory and just like it feels so out of place. Like, how is this stuff enforced?
Right. Like, there are a lot of things that lead me to believe, like, this hotel, I'm sure it's a chain of hotels, whatever it is, resorts. This is going on all over the world, I would imagine. But so many of the rules and everything is so black and white, and I think that's another theme that the writer is trying to press into us, that this world is black and white, enjoy the gray. Like, he's talking about when he's first checked into the hotel, he's like, are you homosexual, heterosexual? And he's like, well, I had a homosexual experience once. Is there a bisexual option? No, there's just heterosexual, homosexual. Okay, I'm a 44 and a half shoe. Well, no, you can have 45 or 44. There's no in between. And that's sort of like a consistent theme. There is no in between rules, like you have to live in this world or another world.
I did like the long pause he had to give whenever it's like, well, I had a homosexual experience in college. Is there a bisexual option? No, only hetero or homosexual. And he's like, fucking a good hard 10 seconds of looking around. And he's like, heterosexual.
What, you think he's like looking around, looking at like what his choices would be as far as men goes? Like,
yeah, exactly. Well, him looking around the office, it's either the secretary, the dude to his right who walked him in, or the fucking fire extinguisher on the wall. Like, what are his options?
Now, he's checked in, and they're stripped down, given the rules, and he gets to pick his animal. He wants to be a lobster because they live to be 100, can fucking reproduce the entire time, and he likes to swim.
Sure.
And they are blue-blooded, like the aristocracy. Because that's important. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird, of course, it goes without saying. There's a lot of, like, weird, like, small rules and stuff, like, when he comes up, like, did it entirely explain why he had to spend the first day or two with, like, one hand behind his back?
Oh, that is to show you how important it is to do things in pairs.
But, like, he wound up just taking his pants off anyway, so he was free. Like, he could have just, he got out of it.
It was nonsense. I understand what they were trying to get, but he completely defeated the system. He could have just put on another pair of pants and just had both hands free.
No. He was handcuffed to his pants. So no matter what, like, unless he cut like the belt loop of his pants or something, he was still connected to those pants.
Yeah, I know, but he still would have had use of both hands. Like, if he would have.
That's what I was trying to get into.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess nonetheless, he spends his first day, he goes into like this dining area where all the single nerds are hanging out.
Hmm.
And that just intrusive overdubbing from Rachel is just like, this was his first day. He sat down and got to look around and looked at all the weird people they have at this place.
Look, here's a weird person, and here's another weird person. Do you like this weird person? Oh, look, it's John C. Riley. He has a list.
Yes. It's just like, oh, weird cookie lady. Oh, weird heartless lady. By the way, John C. Riley's at the end. He's just like, hello,
But as soon as it shows John C. Riley, it's not even like the same tone anymore. He's like, hey guys, I'm John C. Riley.
Yeah.
Yeah, John C. Riley comes on board and he has this immediate lisp, and they tell you that the narrator tells you this is the man with a lisp, and that everyone in this movie is nameless. They are only described as their characteristics. There's the man with a lisp, there's the nosebleed girl, there's the heartless woman, there's the woman who likes butter cookies, there's the woman with a beautiful smile. Like, everyone has some sort of characteristic. David, Colin Farrell's character, the only person in the whole film with an actual name. David, his characteristic is he is short-sighted.
But like he has glasses, so boom, fixed. Whatever. Yeah. But one fellow you didn't mention was the gentleman with the limp. He's fairly important. Yeah. He's actually the guy that introduces the two. It's like, hey, look, I'm Limp Man. Here's John C. Riley. Let's be friends.
Yeah. Real quick though, the limp man, the man with a limp, his backstory is kind of entertaining. Basically, his mom was here many years ago and she didn't make it, so she was turned into a wolf who got taken to a zoo, and he would go to this zoo and visit her and bring the wolves meats to eat, just snacks, but he didn't know which wolf was his mom, so he would give a little bit to everybody. One time he got in their enclosure and the wolves started to attack him. Two wolves didn't move, so he assumes that one of those two was his mom. Still doesn't know, but he was attacked, and that's why he has the limp.
Yeah. I mean, it's fairly entertaining, but one of my complaints about this movie is like everything takes a little too long, and his speech, it's quite a long one. It's like 7, 8 minutes, something like that. And like after a while, like I started to just kind of like think to myself and make myself giggle. And I was just like, what if he just like went up there and was like, my father would womanize, he would drink, he would make outrageous claims like he'd invented the question mark, Just like, I was just making myself giggle.
But the woman right behind him is like, my characteristic is my beautiful smile. And it's an okay smile, honestly. It's whatever. She is doomed.
But that's the punchline. Like, he had this long story, and then she just comes up with like, I got a nice smile. But the story is so long and so bloated. Like, by the time it got to her punchline, you're just like, yeah, all right.
Yeah. So the next thing we know, there's like a mixer dance kind of thing. Everyone arrives wearing the same suit. All the ladies arrive wearing the same dress because they provide all of this for them.
And in these few moments, we kind of like already know the gentleman a little bit, so we get a moment to learn about the women here. Like the butter cookie lady is kind of funny, she's always offering cookies and blowjobs to people or whatever.
She is also fucking doomed.
Yeah. And the lady that makes her nose bleed all the time, the limp man's really hot for her, but like, they don't have anything in common, so it's kind of whatever. But then the movie kind of zeroes in on this short-haired lady who has this like 1,000-yard stare, and Colin Farrell is just like, I'm kind of into that. Like, what's her deal? And the movie's just like, well, when we go hunting for people, she's like 159-0 and kind of heartless, and everybody's kind of scared of her. And Colin Farrell's just like, yeah, man, my dick's rock hard. Let's do this.
I don't even necessarily know that that's what he's into. It's just like, hey, maybe if I pretend to also be heartless, that'll be like an easy mate and I won't have to become a lobster.
Because each successful capture equals another day at the hotel.
Yeah, so she's probably just sticking around for life. She's just chilling.
But that's such a cool mechanic, right? That the movie just kind of like washes over. Like, you have X amount of days before you're turned into, I don't know, what the fuck ever you picked, but you have to straight up kill someone to earn an extra day.
Well, you're not killing them. You're not killing them. You're capturing them.
Well, they're going to wind up a fucking pickle anyways. Whatever. It's the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Now, they have the dance and all this shit's going on and everyone's doing these fucking super socially awkward interactions. It really feels like a homeschool Christian school dance. It's so
Yeah.
fucking weird.
Like the way they kind of like quote unquote caress each other as they're like holding one another when they dance is just so middle school dance kind of thing, you know?
It's like that, except the chaperones actually want them to fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. But what blows my mind is, a lot of these people are coming from relationships, like
Mhm.
married for 12 years or something like that, and just don't even know how to speak to a human being, which was, kind of funny. But we're saved from all this awkwardness when an alarm starts to blare, signifying our first glimpse at the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and we got a little idea about that a little bit earlier, because when he goes to his room, he sees a tranquilizer gun and 12 darts, and at that point you're just like, well, what's that for?
Well, it's for capturing anyone who can't find a mate and decided they were going to live in the woods for whatever reason, right outside the hotel for whatever reason, and stick around until someone came and shot him with a tranquilizer gun.
I mean, I guess some of those people would just take their chances and try to survive the game.
Oh! Now, they roll up deep in a fucking bus wearing these black coats, and they got fucking tranquilizer shotguns. And this, to me, was the best scene. Whenever they fucking pile out of the bus, they're running into the woods, and everyone's tripping and stumbling and fumbling and falling down. And John C. fucking Riley is just like, fucking tearing through the woods, just breaking trees apart. It's fucking great.
It's really cool because like most of these people are stumbling, fumbling around, but like you get to see that fucking heartless lady. She's like an arrow, just like slicing through the forest, just hunting these fuckers down.
Yeah, dude. Like, this is where she thrives, and we get to see old Gimpy Joe wipe out. He's just like, because he's got the
It's
bad
hilarious.
leg, he's just
Poor
down,
guy.
and then fucking Cat Williams pops out of nowhere, like, gimp down, gimp down.
It's just like move, move, move. Run over by a steamroller.
Now, you were talking about the short hair lady, fucking old Heartless. She
Yeah.
bully beat downs this fucking lady. And it looks like the cover of Pantera's album Vulgar Display of Power. It's just her left fist coming across her
Nice.
cheek all super slow-mo.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
like,
she's already tranked, but she still feels the need to like beat the shit out of her a little bit too.
You know, she's got that fucking murder boner. She just has to work on that every day, apparently.
Maybe multiple times a day. 157 kill streak.
I mean, you know, you can't nut back at the fucking house, so just get it off in the forest.
Hells yeah. Now, they go back victorious, unvictorious. Some people earned days, some people did not. And they are now given a class on the benefits of being with someone.
Right.
Oh,
This is fucking workplace sexual harassment panda, the fucking movie.
it's really uncomfortable, a little bit funny, but like 98% uncomfortable. The first thing we see is man eats alone, and it's just an old man eating food. Like, he doesn't actually have food, but he's sitting at a table eating alone, and he chokes and dies because he's alone.
There's like no context to it, so I thought it was like some evening theater bullshit or whatever. Like he's just like acting for entertainment. I'm like, okay, I guess.
You think that's the title of the art piece? Man eats alone.
Well, I mean,
Well,
he could be eating
this-
lobster.
Was the next act called Man Rapes Alone?
Dude, they found the rapiest looking dude in the cast.
Yeah.
I feel like he's an actual sex offender.
Yeah, well, now he is. The next thing we see is like the woman walking down the street alone, and it's just guy comes up and starts dry humping her immediately. He's wearing like 3 pairs of underwear, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed that. It's like extra layered just to make sure nothing weird happens, I guess.
No hunka chunka allowed here.
At least not on stage.
That was the best bit, only because the lady was like, "Oh no, please no, don't do that."
Help, 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 help. And she was like reaching out to the crowd.
Yeah.
Oh no, not again.
And it's just like John C. Riley, just like off to the left with like that confused look he has in his fucking show from Adult Swim.
Oh, Steve Brule.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The next thing I remember, as far as the storyline goes, is the maid comes in to give a little ass job to Colin Farrell. It's just like,
Yeah.
hey, take off your pants. Oh, do we have to do this again? Yes, take off your pants. All right. strips down, and she just like wiggles her ass on his crotch for like
For-
4 minutes.
Yeah, way too long. And
Mhm.
fellas, please explain to me why this is a fucking thing. Like, I know,
Okay.
like, you can't fucking jack off or anything or Jill off because I guess they want you to save it for your partner. But
No,
why
no, no.
they instigating the situation like that?
No, what
Okay.
they want you to do. Go ahead, Brady.
Now, Chandler, you're probably going to be with me 100% on this. The whole thing they're doing here is getting your sexual drive going. For him, his testosterone is going to be through the roof. So he's going to be looking at women like, yes, they're very desirable. If you're just sitting in your room jerking off all day, you're like, the lady with the butter biscuits isn't that special. But if she's your only option and you got a fucking raging boner because the semi-hot maid is fucking dry humping you twice a day, you're going to go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're just getting
Okay.
blue balled every day and you have no way to release, because if you do, bad things happen, you're going to start trying to find a way to release. The only way to release here is to get a companion.
So no wonder they had the fucking rape class, just in case something goes wrong.
I guess.
But they're
Goodness.
all so horny that I don't think they need the rape demo because that lady with the butter biscuits is literally like, you want a butter biscuit? No, I don't. Well, how about a blowjob and some anal?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that
Like-
scene is so awkward and dry that, oh,
I think I like that little scene better than most of like the flat awkward scenes because like the entire time he's trying to ignore her, he's like, would you like a biscuit, a blowjob, some anal? I'm just gonna go kill myself later. If you want to stop by in between, I can do all of that for you.
yeah. But she does it
Well-
so dryly, like, or you can just fuck me.
Whatever you want. You can get a blowjob, a pancake, a blunt, whatever you want. I'm gold member.
A suck and a pancake, a blow and a blitz. Then there is no pleasing you.
Oh shit! But that tickled.
But now we
Now-
find out what happens if you do end up, rubbing one out in your room. I don't know how they know, but they know.
I guess you just walk around with that twinkle in your eye.
They know. Well, how do they know John C. Reilly didn't just like? Okay, no, that's too absurd. He did not find a mate.
In the corner of every room is a small Russian nesting doll staring at the camera. It knows.
With a clearly installed camera, yeah.
Like one of those fucking nanny cams.
He's like, what were you looking at? Not a picture of a woman on a horse. I was jacking off to the babushka nesting dolls.
Yeah. I thought he was gonna be like extra awkward with this, like what was in the picture, sir? I thought he was gonna be like a breast or something like that, or something
Yeah.
so mundane.
It was a
But it
single
was like-
titty.
It was like so majestic. The way he described it just reminded me of, because he's like, it was a topless woman riding a horse with a beautiful mountain backdrop. I was like, man, is he jerking off to Putin? Like,
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, is he short-sighted too? And it's just a picture of Putin. Christ. But like the punishment he gets, I feel like he doesn't deserve because it's so fucking archaic. Like you think
Yeah.
maybe they'll like keep him in like a room or like solitary confinement. No, they break out the old fucking Black and Decker toaster and jam his hand in it.
Yeah, you
Dude.
would think, this, from what I understand, this was his first offense. You would think, I don't know, maybe handcuff his jerkin hand to his belt loop again or something like that. Maybe give
But
himself a
think
little
of it.
stranger, but I mean,
I'm not trying to detract too much from this movie, but if I'm in this place and I've got a lady walking around offering to suck my dick, fuck me, and give me anal, I'm not jerking off.
That's so weird, right? Like there's all these obscene rules about self-pleasure, but they can just go around fuck each other and there's no consequence? Like there's no middle ground here. Like I don't understand.
exactly. That's what I was saying. Like, there is no middle ground. This is all about the black and the white. The gray area is golden.
I suppose. Now, the lady who's offering all this, we were discussing that, she's going to kill herself if someone doesn't fuck her and make her their mate or whatever. Dude, her description of how she's going to do it, I'm going to go to room 180. Nah, maybe 360. Or even a higher one, maybe 480. And
Yeah,
you're
'cause
just
she
like,
said-
why does she have so many options? Why wouldn't you just go to the roof?
Because
Yeah.
she went over that because her room is on the first floor.
So she's just going to jump out of her own window? That's not a very far drop.
Yeah, I was imagining it's like there's like a ground floor and then the 100 start up a floor. So if she jumps out, she'll be jumping out like, I don't know, maybe 15 feet. Like it'll hurt, but it ain't going to kill you.
Well, I mean, we'll just hold that picture for a moment because we'll reel
True.
into a little swimming scene with good old Colin Farrell just being like that weird Flanders on the side of the pool.
Bro, yeah. This whole breaststroke creeper, just...
Yeah, for sure.
So fucking Gimpy Joe sees this moderately attractive woman, and she's doing like the backstroke, and her tits are out. And the whole time you as a male are watching this, you're like, well, all right, I like boobs. This is an okay scene. And apparently Gimpy Joe, he likes boobs too. But what do they have in common? Sure as shit,
Nothing.
not the breaststroke. Sure as shit, not gimpy legs. So he fucking headbutts the edge of the pool. And he's like, oh, I got a nosebleed. She's like, oh, my nosebleeds too. And literally, they're a fucking couple.
Yeah,
I
like you can
mean-
call her this moderately attractive girl. I think this girl is hella cute. If I was in this place, I'd be making my nose bleed all the time.
To me, though, like, she had that, like, I look a little too young for me to be like, yeah, she's fucking
Yeah.
fine AF. Like, I was a little uncomfortable looking at her tits, but it didn't stop me.
She definitely falls into one of those categories where, like, yeah, she's in her 20s, but she has the face of a 12-year-old. So it was super awkward because the movie wants you to focus on her chest, but in the background you have like blurry limp man just like huffing along like Bigfoot, just trying to get a look at her.
Yeah, and so they become a couple, and this place, the resort's whole plan is, if you guys have any problems, we will issue you children. That normally helps.
Yeah.
And
That actually got an audible laugh from me and my roommate last night when she said that. That usually helps.
Yeah, okay, it's funny up front, but it does have like a fun little payoff later because they do wind up with a kid.
They wind up with 2 kids. Remember that. And then there's only one later.
Do they get 2 kids?
Yeah, because Colin kicks the one. He's like, I don't want a hug from no snotty little kid. Punt.
But that's when he became heartless, and so that heartless lady that he'd been eyeballing this entire time, he finally gets a chance to like converse with her or whatever. But in the time it took for him to get the gall to walk over and speak to her, fucking Buttercookie later had already thrown herself out the fucking building. But she's not dead. She's literally fucking Will Ferrell from the Austin Powers movies. Like, oh no, I'm not dead. I'm just badly hurt.
This
Need
is one of
somebody help."
This is one of the more entertaining scenes for me. Fucking, you just hear like this woman like wailing and crying, and like you see her body laying there, and Colin Farrell walks up to a heartless woman who's sitting at a table outside and gets an explanation of what happened. She threw herself off out of room 180 or whatever. Yeah, there was blood and biscuits everywhere. He says, I was planning on having a lie down. The last thing I need is a woman screaming and dying outside my window.
And I guess
Dude.
she was just like, hell yeah.
What was crazy about that, though, is I laughed when this lady was dying as well. But at the same time, it's one of the most god-awful realistic depictions of a failed suicide. Like, she fucking splats, her leg breaks, blood is pooling from around her face, and she's just laying there in her old blood, like, screaming in, like, agonizing pain. And he's like, I hope she dies. I hope she dies slow but quiet, because I'd like to have a lay down, and I know I can hear her from my room.
And no one at the hotel or the whatever you want to call this is doing anything. They're just like trying to ignore her.
Yeah.
I mean, they all crowded around her just like, I guess, to watch, to see what happened next. Like, what do you expect?
Like, oh, you think she'll die soon?
Oh, they're just placing fucking bets, but not with money, with the cookies.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, Heartless Lady's like, let's wait till we have a quieter time so we can talk about our fucking heartlessness. And like, hard cut to them in like joining jacuzzis or whatever. And I guess they had been there for an indescript amount of time. Then suddenly he's like, so can I get in your tub now?
Yeah, and she starts choking on a martini olive, and he just looks at her.
Oh,
Just
he
like,
calls the bluff. He calls
Yeah.
the bluff. He's like, wait a minute. She's got that fucking freakiness where like death gets her off. She's like, huh, I see what you're doing here.
And so he doesn't save her, even to the point of her like faking complete death. And then as soon as he doesn't save her, she sits up. I think we're a match. Let's fuck.
I think we
And-
are.
It just becomes like the weirdest cock tease part 2.
It's super interesting. I guess, hard cut to them, just like, oh, they're a couple. They get the couple room. They have a big bed where they can just kind of screw in. Insert sex scene. Invention of the question mark.
Yeah,
Dude.
this is a sex scene, I guess.
It's almost like if you filmed a sex scene as you wrote it. Like, legitimately, on paper, you wrote sex scene, and they're just like, okay.
Yeah, it's like two Sims having sex.
Yeah, it's just a blank fuck. And it shows
Yeah.
them cut to like walking around the grounds, and Gimpy Joe and fucking Nosebleed Chick are there. And they're like, oh, look, these are our kids. Why don't you go give him a hug? And he gives him a hug, and then Colin Farrell fucking kicks this kid. Like, punt.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want no hug from no snotty little kid. Fucking dying right there.
Now you'll have a limp like your father.
I
That
know.
was a good one. The fucking underhanded hook like that. And even the expression on his face is like, oh, goodness.
Oh, man. But after that, he wakes up after yet another blank fuck. Like this time they do it doggy. Oh, no, they had to turn the lights on and stare her in the eyes, which is real weird. She's like, I killed your brother. He's like, excuse me? And she's like, you didn't hear me stomping it and stabbing it in the other room? And he was like, nope.
I let him die very slowly. He may still be dying. I kicked him rather hard, many times.
And this is all because of, like, one night he fell asleep next to her and he, like, accidentally just, like, snuggled up a little too close. So in suspicion, she was like, wait a minute, this man might have feeling.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, of course, because, like, the entire time, like, she would be reading a book. He would be, like, kind of, like, equestered to his, like, little part of the bed. But that one night, he just got a little too close, and he looked at him, he's like, wait a minute, he's a phony.
It reminded me so much of the scene from Boondock Saints whenever Willem Dafoe has the homosexual encounter in his bed and he gets the phone call about the next murders. And the guy keeps trying to like snuggle on him and he's like slapping his hand, like trying to push him away. And then he finally has to slap him in the face to get him off of him and looks at him like, what the fuck? Hangs up the phone and goes, what are you doing? He goes, I just wanted to cuddle. He goes, cuddle? What a
Yeah.
He gets up out of the bed.
Colin Farrell just like, oh, that's cool. You can kill my brother. Oh, okay, this is my brother. And he goes into the bathroom to wash his face and sees this poor fucking prop of a dog smashed to pieces.
Just
And the movie-
brutalated.
Yeah, and the movie has no issue just like showing just like feet prints in this poor hound. And he's just like, I'm just brushing my teeth. Nothing wrong here.
Oh, I don't know that we filled in the fact that Colin Farrell's character has ownership of this dog who was previously his brother. He was there at this hotel, didn't make it, got turned into a dog. Okay, the pieces have been filled in.
Yeah. And so she's like, I'm going to turn you in for being a liar. And he's like, I'm a little bitch and I'm coming with you. And then he gets the balls and punches her in the gut. And we
Yeah,
get
it's so weird.
There's this sort of like chase through the hotel, and like they lose each other, and this is a little bit comical to me.
I gotta disagree. This whole chase scene just fucking once again took too long. Like, Wes Anderson would have super interesting cuts, like camera whooshes, like cool turns and everything. This chase had a mirror and they used it fucking twice.
I don't know. It's just for everything that had just happened, like a fun little chase scene, like almost Scooby-Doo like chase scene, seemed like a really big tonal change.
Now, the change is there for sure, but I got to agree with Eric. Even in my notes, I have chase ? Because they run weird. There's no like change in the music to either change the idea that this is now a fun moment or a crazy moment or an intense moment. And then he just tranquilizes her.
I think this would have been the perfect time to kind of like double down on like the narration or whatever, because like this has been perfect time for Rachel to be like, and this is where he ran away and took a left, and he just does, something like that.
Yeah, that would have been real Wes Anderson-y. But yeah, the way he gets out of this is the maid, for whatever reason, helps him hide, and then he pops out of a room with a tranq gun and just shoots her. And he and the maid takes her down to the transformation room and I guess turns her into some kind of animal.
Minus 10 points for not calling it the Transformatorium, because that's a fucking cool word.
Agreed. And I was heartbroken because the movie never again addresses what she became. And I tried to say, I guess maybe she was the donkey, and that was, the chick getting revenge. But then I was like, wait a minute, the chick's blind. So I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Even the movie's just like, when we asked him, what did you turn her into? He's just like, oh, something got awful, just something.
No, he says, like, that's none of your business, or it doesn't matter to you, or anything like that. Actively avoiding it.
Like, maybe he
Yes.
didn't at all, because he's a little bitch.
Stupid, sexy flame.
Yeah. Now we get to meet the loners, because he's ran away all 10 feet into the woods outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the big, like, Act 1 to Act 2 of this movie. This is the second half.
Yeah, there's no Act 3, unfortunately. We'll get to that.
And we get to meet not Scarlett Johansson.
I mean, I guess. Just some, redhead lady. She's the leader of the Outsiders, I guess we can call them that. And their shtick is they're alone, they wear trench coats, and y'all can't fuck.
Those aren't even trench coats. Those are ponchos. They're just walking around in ponchos all day.
Waterproof ponchos, and thank God they got them. That way they're not laying in the water after they get tranked. Now, the fucking runaways, the loners, they also have a whole bunch of rules that we get explained to for 20 minutes.
This was
the
absolutely the worst part.
Yeah, the red intercourse, the narration, the literal fucking narration for this piece is the worst. And I don't know if it's supposed to be that way. If it is, it's a horrible choice. She's like, oh God, the red intercourse. I am so afraid of it.
And then the director's like, got it, good, first take, every time, you're so good. Oh my goodness. But this is the absolute worst part of the movie because I guess maybe it's more akin to what you said earlier, Chandler, like, everything being black and white, either here or there. But the whole reason for them to exist in the forest is to go against all the rules of the hotel or whatever you want to call it. So when you're in the woods, there's still a fucking laundry list of rules that, like, what? Why?
Yeah, the leader tells you a little bit about the rules. There's, you can have conversations, but absolutely no flirting, definitely no kissing, absolutely no intercourse. If, any of that happens, you're going to get punished, and pretty severely.
If you fuck, you're fucked.
But you can dance when you want to.
And they only listen to electronic music.
You can leave your friends behind.
You can only dance alone.
They won't dance. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize that you were going that direction.
No, I was still just running with it. You're fine.
Well, this whole, outfit of people, to just kind of sum it up, the whole shtick is, they have, a mole inside the hotel, and it happens to be that maid that helped Colin Farrell out earlier, and they're basically trying to put together this coup. And so the movie, I guess, wants you to think that, hey, they're going to gather up all these people, they're going to clean themselves off, they're going to march in there, and they're going to fuck this place up.
Yeah. Either by taking it over or just letting everybody out to be their own person. That's what you're thinking. That's what I was thinking, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And they take these trips into the city, and they do things. I absolutely have no clue the reason why they actually went into the city.
They got to get supplies.
Okay.
And I guess the leader stops to visit her parents.
Yeah. But where do they get the money?
Well, they walk.
But where did they get the money?
From her parents?
No, that would the money. They get money.
I think it's from the maid because there's a little transfer of goods.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, given that's the case, we spent entirely too long in this part of the movie just to tell us that, hey, they're getting stuff together so they can storm back into a la castle. And when they do, it's so fucking nothing.
But before that, he meets Rachel Weisz for the first time.
Yeah, she meets Mummy Lady.
Yeah, and she has loud narration about how she wants him to fuck her in the butt.
Yeah, we finally, for the first time, meet the person that's been narrating this entire time, played by Rachel Weisz. And we see immediately, as soon as Colin Farrell shows up, Rachel Weisz looks at him like, oh, who's that?
It's it's like love at first sight. And he walks over, like, oh, so what did you used to do? It's and she's like, oh, I'm a part-time narrator, part-time anal enthusiast.
Nice.
Yeah, she says, I had a dream about him last night. He was fucking me in the ass. And then
yeah,
a man came
somebody
in.
broke in.
A man came in and tried to stab us with steak knives.
And scene.
Yeah, that's it.
It's
Then,
whatever.
man, you want to talk about like it being nothing though, Eric? You're so fucking right. They tranquilize two guards. They go inside and they basically pull the Joker. They're like, "You're gonna blow up this thing, but instead you're gonna shoot your wife." And he's like, "Click, you did it."
Oh my god, the guy's face in this scene is one of my favorite parts about this movie. Yeah, he does exactly what you think he's going to do. Like, hey, we're either going to kill you or your wife. Here's this gun. Shoot your wife, and you get to live. So he pulls the trigger. There's no bullets inside, and his face is immediately like, "What did I just do? What just happened? Oh God!" And this is like a bald, fat guy who's
Correct.
probably only half awake at this point.
I mean,
But
at this point, I was just like, leave Alfred Hitchcock alone. He just wants a
Oh.
good evening.
he does have that good low baritone voice. I assume it's a baritone. I don't know voices.
The movie spends a lot of runtime ramping up to this moment, and after this whole fake shooty bit, like nothing comes from it. Nothing
Nothing.
happens. Like we're
'Cause-
back in the forest, and we're like bitching about how Rachel Weisz has fallen in love with the Total Recall star Colin Farrell.
I was so disappointed because Colin Farrell gets onto the yacht with Gimpy Joe, and I thought that he was going to rob the yachts so everybody
Or-
could escape on the yachts.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was expecting, but that scene kind of didn't come to anything. He specifically requests, like, hey, y'all go into the hotel. I'm going to go out to this yacht. And then he goes out there and just says, hey, your husband or whatever he is now, your companion, he doesn't actually get nosebleeds. He just smashes his face up against a table to make it bleed.
And
That's not
it's
blood on
just-
his shirt either.
And that's why early on I said this movie was so full of itself, because this movie, given its insane nature, kind of paves the way for itself. So when you get to the moment where like he goes to the boat, he's like, oh, they're doing something at the hotel, so now he's just going to the boat so they can kind of like free each other, so they don't have to be this forced couple. We're just all going to like change everything. But the movie just fucking rolls off a cliff for the sole purpose of subverting our expectations, and that pissed me off.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because the next 30 minutes we're treated to learning and watching Colin Farrell and Rachel Weisz fall in love using sign language about fucking each other in the ass.
I guess so. So when the movie like finally treads back into the forest, Colin Farrell is going out of his way to fucking hunt these fucking rabbits, so he can treat Rachel Weisz, because that's her favorite fucking food.
Yeah, she loves rabbits, and he doesn't want anyone else to bring her rabbits. Somebody brought her some rabbits before, but that's his territory.
Yeah, so he's like over there hopping around, like grabbing up on this dude, and he's like, "Hey, are you close sighted?" He's like, "Nah," and he slams him against a tree, and he's like, "Are you fucking close sighted?" He's like, "Nah." He's like, "Okay, I thought you were trying to fool me."
Speaking of Hopslam, ooh, this smells green as fuck. What I've got here today from Bell's Brewing Company out of Comstock, Michigan. This is their 2021 edition of the Hopslam Ale. This is a double IPA brewed with honey. I didn't know that, but this is a 10.0% IPA. Very strong, very floral. Little bit of like bubblegum notes. Oh, that is like a classic IPA. Back before we had all these New England IPAs, West Coast IPAs, we really just had IPAs that were trying their best to be as hoppy and as strong as possible. That's how you got at the top of the charts of the beer world. Make a strong, ultra hoppy beer with, 4,000 IBUs, as many IBUs as you could pack in. This is definitely an artifact from that time. This is super hoppy, a little bit sweet, not as well balanced as I would like. It's a little bit over hopped, I'd say.
Oh shit, is that like the beer equivalent of like overclocked?
Exactly that. But it finishes with this sort of hoppy, oily, bitter mouth. Fuck, what's the word I'm looking for?
Hot and
Gross.
trippy mouth fuck.
It's definitely a solid beer. It's just, this is still one of those beers that is trying to go over the top, where the rest of the IPA world is trying to be a little bit more reserved, a little bit more balanced, and reach everyone instead of just the big hopheads. This is a beer for hopheads.
I am not a hophead. I don't like fucking green beers.
You'd hate this.
Yeah,
Sponsors.
I like my stuff a little fruity.
Speaking of something fruity going on, the leader of the group's starting to sniff out their like little love affair, and she's like, I don't like this. And I kind
Right.
of got the impression like maybe she wanted to bang Colin Farrell all for herself, just because of her overall spitefulness through this whole shebang.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of the question that she might just want Rachel Weisz to herself too. Because did you notice the way that she was constantly like eyeballing her? I don't think she was eyeballing Colin Farrell so much, but she was
Oh,
like straight up eye fucking Rachel Weisz.
I thought
oh,
she wanted the maid.
yeah, they were straight up like in the forest alone, Frenching.
Yeah, they were. Sacre bleu.
Un baguette.
Ugh. But all kinds of stupid shit is going on in the background with hand signals and such. And we find out that at some point, Rachel has left her journal, and the French maid finds it, reads it to not Scarlett Johansson, and they're like, oh shit,
Oh,
this bitch.
that's right. Yeah, and then like she has like some ridiculous scheme like where makes Colin Farrell digs his grave. Like I guess more of like a warning, like hey, this
Oh
is
no,
what.
they everyone, all of the outsiders have to dig their own grave. The thing is, because nobody else wants to do it for you, you're alone.
No, that's understood. It's just like the context of it, just like
Uh-huh.
the feeling, because like he drug him out to like fucking BFE, and everything she said was just like, had that pop of spite with it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, while he's digging his own grave, she's taken a trip of her own with Rachel Weisz and the maid back into the city.
Which is the dumbest fucking part of this movie because Rachel Weisz immediately catches on. She's like, wait a minute. There's 3 of us and no men. This is a bad idea. We should leave now. No, no, no. I scheduled this appointment. Now go in here and get fucking blinded? What kind of doctor blinds people? That's not an operation you can get. Yes, I would like to be blinded, please.
I just imagine he has like a fucking menu, like you go to a shawarma place, just like whatever $5.99. Yeah, I want that.
Oh, but yeah, like the way it happened was she is also short-sighted. She wears contact lenses and all that. So that was, her characteristic trait, just like Colin Farrell. They were a match.
I guess, but the next 15 minutes or so are so goddamn clumsy. I had my head in my hand because like she gets blinded.
Mhm.
They have like a scuffle in the forest where she kills the maid, and like the leader's like trying to mock her by pretending to be dead, but also still speaking to her. Colin Farrell and her. Okay, I do have to give the movie one credit that kind of made me laugh because like Rachel Weisz is trying to like pretend that she's not blind, but she has these like fucking sunglasses on, and he comes over. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, and she goes like, "Wow, nice haircut."
He comes over and is like enjoying the view, and she's just like, "What? Oh yeah, sure." And he's like, "I got you something," and she's like, "Oh, how wonderful! I'll eat it right away." It's a flashlight.
That was legitimately funny, but then like you realize just how like it took 2 hours and 10 minutes to get there, and you're like, "Where am I?"
For real.
There's a whole lot of where am I?
Now, speaking of rabbits, now that she's like, oh, by the way, I'm blind. He's like, oh my god, now I have nothing in common with you. They spend an inordinate amount of time focusing on this in the weirdest fucking ways, mind you. And he's like not paying her the proper attention in a certain way. Like he's not feeding her. And she even brings it up. She's like, aha, how are things? You haven't got me a rabbit in like 3 days. He's just like, oh, well, here's a plan. I'm going to touch my elbow to my forehead, take my big toe, twirl it around in my butt cheek, then I'm going to pick my nose and wipe the booger on my eyebrow. And she's like, are you sure you want to do that? And he's like, pickle tongue.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the way Brady is describing it sounds absurd, but it's exactly pretty much what happens.
Because like of course she can't see the hand signals. He just has to describe them to her like some kind of audio braille or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's like describing the hand signals that you're giving in American Sign Language.
I guess it's just whatever. So of course they decide to finally make a break for the city or whatever. And there's like little in betweens, like they see a bus coming, doesn't matter. They make it and they sit down in this diner, and it's very kind of like Tarantino-esque. It's almost like that bit in Pulp Fiction or something. And they're just sitting there with water. The waiter comes over and he's like, "Hey, get me a knife and a fork." And there's like, "Okay, whatever. Here's a knife and a fork."
Yeah, and he's gonna go and gouge out his fucking eyeballs. He says, "Ah, I think I'll use the knife," and he goes to the bathroom, and you see him stuff some tissues in his mouth, and he's got the knife hovering in front of his eyes, and you think he's gonna do it, and it cuts back to Rachel Weisz sitting there for 3 minutes of still,
Yeah.
quiet screen time.
Before he goes in, he wants to get like one last look at her hands and her elbow, and she's like, "Would you like me to show you my belly?" And he's like, "No, I remember your belly."
What the fuck? How come we didn't say tits or something? This is the dumbest fucking movie.
I don't know. Like they're in a diner. Like,
They
well, I
could've
guess
both-
in Ireland. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so, the only golden nugget out of the scene is that like he takes the knife and he's gung ho about going to the bathroom and getting his eyes gouged out, and he's like, "I'll only be a minute." It's like, it takes no time, just like pop pop and I'm back.
Yeah, and we don't actually know if he's like, did he do it? Did he not do it? Did he just lie about doing it? But you're absolutely right. The last thing that we see in this movie is just way too long of a hold on Rachel Weisz sitting there just by herself at the little diner table.
And you know why? Because the joke is she's blind. That's it. And the movie fucking ends like an asshole.
She can't see us, so we have to watch her for the rest of our lives.
No, the joke is that she can't see, so she has to sit there and pretend like nothing's wrong.
Yeah,
That's
like
it.
she'll never know if, he doesn't do it and just lies to her forever. So fuck it.
Yeah, yes. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
But fuck it.
I mean, that's what they're into, evidently.
Oh my god.
So this movie is really something. I don't know if I love it. I don't know if I hate it. It's probably somewhere in between. But this movie doesn't like gray area, so I'm just going to leave my opinion undetermined. It's really dry. It is something. I recommend it, but I don't know if I like it.
Me personally, I think this movie is way too far up its own ass. I think this movie had a stellar idea, but the people who helmed this movie are just way too fucking pretentious, and they just ruined a really cool, dark idea, and it just withered into just pretty much nothing. Also, it was entirely too long.
Facts.
Just for
They could have called it 45 Minutes to Make It, starring 15 minutes of John C. Reilly. This movie was like watching a dreary day out of your window, and then you see someone kind of slide and fall down, and you do like a slight chuckle. That's the entire tone of this movie. I, the night before, had literally watched the worst movie I have ever seen in my life, which was Ghosts of Mars. Fucking horrid. I would rather watch Ghost of Mars than watch this again. At least with Ghost of Mars, I laughed at how bad it was.
There you have it. That is The Lobster. If you have any strong feelings about the show or the movie, leave it in the comment section below.
Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button too. Hit the little bell icon so you know next time we got another one of these brewing.
Get out there and follow us on all of our different social medias. We get that YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit.
Also,
Wow.
we're on Spotify now, so go listen to us on that. Also,
I hope
listen to
you're listening to us on Spotify via the Anchor app. Thanks, Anchor. And if you guys don't get out there and listen to us, man, oh man, we'll make
We're
you
gonna
play.
fuck you in the ass.
Oof.
Blood and butter
Also-
cookies everywhere,
In the ass.
especially in the ass.
There was never a fucking lobster.
Not one lobster.